In 1970, there was a student who worked part-time as a baggage handler in an airport, and his name was Freddie Mercury. After work, he comes home but only for a while, because he wants to continue hanging out and watching his favorite band at a bar. His parents didn't like Freddie's behavior like this, because Freddie was considered to be wandering around every night. But Freddie did not heed the advice of his parents and left immediately. At a bar, Freddie watched his favorite college band called Smile. After the concert, Freddie wanted to meet the Smile's personnel to submit his songs, because Freddie is a person who likes to write songs. However, the band turned out to be faltering. The vocalist chose to leave because he felt the band was not progressing. Freddie took the opportunity to volunteer as the band's vocalist, which was empty. The Smile's personnel refused because of Freddie's teeth. But that immediately changed when Freddie showed his voice in singing. After that, Freddie was officially accepted as the band's vocalist. Furthermore, at the bar, Freddie also met a student named Mary Austin. Apparently, Freddie was attracted to the girl at first sight. Until the next day, he caught up with Mary, who was working part-time at a fashion store, and since then, Freddie and Mary became closer. Freddie also invited Mary to watch his first performance with his new band. On that occasion, the band's name was officially changed from Smile to Queen. After that, the band Queen increasingly existed and began to be known by many people and had many fans. Therefore, they want to go even further by entering the recording studio. But they didn't have enough money to rent a recording studio. So, with great determination, they ended up selling the van they used to rent a recording studio. On the other hand, Freddie and Mary's relationship is also getting closer. Then, Freddie invited Mary and his friends to his house to celebrate his birthday party. At the same event, it was discovered that Freddie was actually Farrokh Bulsara, and actually Freddie and his family were immigrants from Pakistan. But because Freddie didn't want to use that name anymore, he changed his name to Freddie Mercury. Not only that, he also changed his passport with that name. On the same occasion, Freddie's parents told Freddie's misbehavior in front of Mary and the other people there. Because he felt uncomfortable, Freddie preferred to play the piano. Suddenly, Freddie got a call from John Reed, a manager at EMI Records, and it was John who would later become Queen's manager. John then offered Freddie, as Queen's representative, to record and publish their album. Happily, Freddie accepted the offer. With the help of record labels and managers, Queen became more and more famous, and they were also able to appear on several major radio and television stations in England in 1974. Then, one day, Freddie, who loved Mary very much, decided to propose to her and said that Mary was his true love. Not long after, other members of the Queen came to Freddie's house to tell him that they had been invited to a concert tour around America. It certainly made everyone in the place happy. Queen personnel also held a concert around America and got enthusiastic and many fans there. But in between concerts, Freddie began to see deviant behavior, where he was asked to enter the toilet by a truck driver and Freddie did not refuse even though he didn't know what they were doing inside. After the tour around America was over, in 1975, Queen personnel seemed to hold a meeting with Ray Foster, the owner of the EMI record label, for the production of their new album. At first, Ray did not agree with Freddie's desired concept, because Freddie wanted to combine rock with opera music. Ray Foster said that it felt strange and unlikely to be accepted by the market. But Freddie insisted on working on the album until Ray finally agreed. Then, the Queen personnel were taken to a beautiful place and away from the crowds to work on the album. They were also accompanied by an assistant manager named Paul. Because Freddie had not seen Mary for a long time, he missed her so much and wrote a song for his true love entitled Love of My Life. However, Paul, who accompanied Freddie to compose the song, looked at him with a strange look as if he had an interest in Freddie. Even Paul did something indecent to Freddie. But at that time, Freddie pushed him away because he didn't want to hurt Mary. As a result of the incident, Freddie felt a bit upset, so he contemplated to calm himself down. But because Freddie is a genius in that contemplation, Freddie even managed to create a song called Bohemian Rhapsody, a song that would later become Queen's best single. Next, Freddie and his friends again continued to compose songs for their album. Queen personnel are free to contribute to songwriting, although Queen's best songs usually come from Freddie's works. After everything is done, they then make their recordings to take many times in order to produce maximum work. How was that? After recording, Queen personnel met Ray Foster to submit the recording of the album. However, Ray seemed dissatisfied with Queen's works, which seemed to use unusual terms. Not only that, The song that was chosen to be a single, that is Bohemian Rhapsody, also didn't meet the radio single requirements at that time because the duration was too long, up to 6 minutes, even though the single rule on the radio was only 3 minutes. But again, Freddie was still nagging to install the song as a single. Failing to find common ground with Ray Foster, Queen then chose to leave the label.
Christ, take that out about royalty. Make a mistake, Foster.
They then looked for ways to sell their own work. Freddie then went to Kenny, a well-known DJ and radio broadcaster, to ask him to publish his song. Mary, who accompanied Freddie to meet Kenny, was surprised by the closeness of her boyfriend with the famous gay DJ. Then, Kenny agreed to Freddie's request and the song Bohemian Rhapsody was successfully played and immediately received a good response from the listeners. The song became a milestone in the early explosion of Queen's album. Almost all the songs on the album became hits and Queen became increasingly famous throughout the world. That success brought Queen invited to tour around the world. But on the other hand, it made Freddie separate from Mary. This is used by Paul, who always accompanies Freddie and has long been in love with Freddie. Because of that, gradually, Freddie also began to stray and became interested in Paul. Mary felt there was something strange about Freddie. Then, at one point, Mary asked what really happened. And with a heavy heart, Freddie admits that he is a bisexual. Hearing this, Mary was very surprised and chose to leave Freddie. Several years have passed, and now Freddie is starting to change his appearance by maintaining a mustache like Paul. Freddie's attitude changed and it was also felt by the other Queen personnel, so they limited their interaction with Freddie. Freddie, feeling lonely, then ordered Paul to throw a big party at his new house, and it can be said that the party was quite wild. After the party, Freddie still contacted Mary to ask her back. But Mary would not accept Freddie if he had not returned to the right path. Then, a record label, CBS Records, met Paul. CBS Records offered Paul a solo career contract for Freddie with a fantastic value, which reached $4 million. A very large number at that time. Then, Paul brought it up to John Reid and asked him to persuade Freddie to accept the contract. When Freddie came home from an event, John Reid tried to convey the offer of the solo contract to Freddie. He tried to persuade Freddie by giving the analogy of the Jackson 5 music group that the only famous one was Michael Jackson. But Freddie was even angry at John Reid because he thought that John asked him to leave Queen, and Freddie immediately fired John. At that crucial moment, Paul was silent and did nothing, and it was as if Paul deliberately trapped John Reid. Before leaving, John Reid warned Freddie if he was keeping a venomous snake. The actions taken by Freddie certainly exacerbated his relationship with the other Queen personnel because they were considered arbitrary. But amazingly, their debates can produce notes and songs that will also become hits.
Let's go!
Freddie's deviant behavior began to be smelled by the media. So that when Queen had a press conference for their new album, there was a journalist who asked about Freddie's sexual behavior. This made Freddie angry and left the conference. After that, Queen tried to work on an album with the theme calling for gender equality and respecting LGBT people. Therefore, in making the video clip, they wore women's outfits. But the video was blocked by the Americans, so their video can't be shown. It made a split in the band Queen. Under such conditions, Freddie chose to accept a solo career contract after receiving persuasion from Paul. Queen's personnel could not accept Freddie's unilateral decision. But Freddie said he would not disband Queen, but he said that he was bored and wanted to explore his own work. Since then, the relationship has become tenuous and those close to Freddie are increasingly distant. Now, Freddie is only close to Paul and this is used by Paul to drive Freddie. Paul also constantly gave Freddie negative things, especially in terms of deviant behavior. Not only that, Paul also restricted the access of people who wanted to contact Freddie, such as Jim Beach, the new manager of Queen to replace John Reid, and Mary was also prevented from contacting and meeting Freddie. The various negative things taught by Paul brought bad impacts to Freddie. It was seen when Freddie coughed up blood while recording in Munich, Germany. As if there was still a bond, Mary was worried about Freddie's condition because she had not known Freddie's news for a long time. For that, Mary was desperate to follow Freddie to Munich, Germany. Coincidentally, Paul wasn't home, so they could chat. And at that time, Mary announced that there would be a Live Aid charity concert for Africans. Freddie was shocked to hear the news, because Paul didn't tell him. Freddie also felt heartbroken when he found out that Mary was pregnant with another man. Freddie felt very disappointed because the people he loved had left him. Mary tries to persuade Freddie to repent and return to the right path, because there are still many people who love him, such as his family and friends. Not only that, Mary also reminded Freddie of who Paul really was. Mary told Freddie that Paul was just taking advantage of him and wasn't really being sincere to Freddie. When Paul got home, Freddie asked Paul about the Live Aid concert. According to Paul, the concert was something of a disgrace and he certainly didn't make any profit. Hearing this, Freddie realized who Paul really was. Therefore, Freddie immediately fired Paul. Paul, who didn't accept it, then threatened Freddie to spread Freddie's photos and deviant behavior to the media. But Freddie didn't care about the threat and chose to return to England at the same time leading the making of his second solo album. After that, mediated by Jim Beach, Freddie and the Queen personnel underwent reconciliation after several agreements. Then, Freddie checked his condition to the doctor and from the results of the examination, the doctor stated that Freddie was HIV positive and his age would not be long. Freddie conveyed this to the Queen personnel. Knowing this, the Queen personnel felt empathy and gave support to Freddie.
AIDS. No, I decide who I am. You're not your friend. Freddie fucking Mercury.
On the other hand, Paul proved his threat by selling Freddie Mercury's photos and secrets to the media. But Freddie didn't bother with it. Later, Queen contacted the charity concert committee to inform them of their willingness to participate in a charity event. Then, Freddie and Queen focused on training to get back the chemistry to perform at the live concert which will be held at Wembley Stadium. Before leaving, Freddie took the time to go to his parents' place to apologize and at the same time, he asked for blessing to go through the charity concert. Then, backstage, Freddie met Mary who came with her boyfriend and they supported each other. Not long after, the band Queen appeared to be greeted by thousands of fans. They seemed hypnotized by Queen's performance, so they joined in singing what Freddie sang.
Everybody.
After the concert, Freddie and Queen were still working on the next album and at the age of 45, in 1991, Freddie died from HIV disease. That's the story of the creation of the best song and the twists and turns of the life of a world-famous vocalist of a legendary band who had an unusual sexual orientation and had to die from an incurable disease.